morning. So, as always, we start the podcast off with what I'm grateful for. And today I'm grateful for growth. I'm grateful for friendships. I'm grateful for love and support. I'm grateful for life. So this weekend spent almost the entire weekend over at my new building that I have for my gym, and we were basically getting everything ready to go, fixing drywall, prepping for paint, and the amount of support that I had from people coming through was great. It was also a very trying weekend, especially for my wife and her family. Lost She lost her grandmother, so she had to drive up to Minnesota, and they're going through that, and so it's so grateful for friends, grateful for family, grateful for life, and yeah. So as always, let me know what you're grateful for, and yeah, let's get the ball rolling. Let's get Corey back in here.
Give me 2 seconds. I just want to run.
Oh, he's running
quality check.
He's running quality check. He said so. We're gonna keep it going. I'm hyped for everybody to see this new spot. We're not. We have a few months until we got everything in line, but super excited for it. It's crazy. As I get older, there's so many different things that's coming to mind. Corey's gonna laugh. I put together like a 3 or 4 minute comedy skit.
Oh wow!
Like just talking about my life and making a joke about all the things that I've been through. It's just the older I get, the more I realize, like, words are coming into my mind differently. My understanding of life is just different. So it's super dope. I'm excited to continue living in this next chapter in my life with the new gym, keep growing the podcast and whatnot. So yeah, it's beautiful. What up? I see people chiming in or starting to jump in. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We're gonna be doing the second part of the interview with Corey Whitmore, aka Dash Dub. So I'm super digging that. Thank you for the hearts. Appreciate y'all always supporting. It's super dope to continue to get love and support from people. So the You Control You podcast, we're just trying to dig into people's minds, figure them out, and see if we can help y'all at the same time, So it looks like the man is stepping in. The man, the myth, the legend, the icon.
Wow.
Corey's stepping back in the stage.
You sound like you're trying to bring in Jay-Z.
Oh, man. I don't know what I would say about Jay-Z right now. So.
Oh.
No, I ain't got. Just, I'm hoping he doesn't go down like the rest of them.
Right.
This is getting to be sad in hip hop. So, how you doing, man?
I'm good. You good yourself?
I'm chilling, man. Always. So, what are you grateful for on this beautiful Monday morning?
Man, I mean, it's so cliche, but for me, it always starts with family. Like I said, that's the root, that's the rock. That's where everything comes from. And that's the stability and the strength. So I don't know if I can go any other place with it.
I feel you on that.
Hopefully folks agree with me.
Hopefully they got a good family, good system. Family isn't always the side about blood.
Yep.
Yeah. So, man, so we were just starting to dive into it last week.
Yeah. We were getting the nitty gritty.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just hit you over the head with a question. What makes you tick? What inspires you?
What inspires me? I definitely from the outside, I'll do it in two ways. There's things inside, an intrinsic motivation or whatever. There's things inside of me and things outside. From the outside, I wouldn't call it a comparison. I'm engaging in comparison with other people, but watching what other people are accomplishing out there, whether it's in my space or other spaces, has always been motivating to me. I've always liked to look at people's stories, people's journeys, and to kind of see the things that they've had to do and endure to be able to get to where they're at. And then once they got there, I still find it motivating to see the things they're doing to be able to stay, to reach a pinnacle and still be able to stay at that height. So I always like looking out at different stories and journeys. Internally, what keeps me motivated is I think I have this reoccurring feeling that I am underachieving. And it's a feeling that I have not been able to put to bed probably since I've been younger. And so no matter what it is, yes, I'm always put into the business, but it could be coaching, it could be being a husband, it could be being a father. Like, I always feel that there is something more that I can do or provide or be better at or more knowledgeable about. And so that feeling keeps me pushing forward and helps me to really minimize that complacency.
So then it's interesting that you touched on that you feel like you're not doing good enough. You're not.
I'm doing good. I could do better. I put it like that. So I wouldn't say there's not a lack of recognition that I'm doing good things in those spaces, but it is the evaluation that I think I can do more.
Well, we talked about the first part. We talked about how you don't celebrate the wins.
Right, I do a poor job of that.
You don't celebrate the wins. You don't acknowledge the victories. You don't acknowledge when you get it. How do you? My question for you: if you don't acknowledge the victories, how do you know you gotta set new goals?
Because the initial goals haven't been met. I haven't set my goals in steps. And I think that has short circuited a lot of things and not made me as good as I would have hoped to have been. And so when I say I haven't put it in steps, like, I have a vision of what my end goal is. So it's almost like somebody coming to you and saying, "Man, what's your 1 year, 5 year, 10-year plan?" I've always been able to get to 10-year. I'm like, I know where I want to go. I know what I want this to look like. I can see it in my head. Many times I've been able to get the 5-year, where I've said, well, probably this is the halfway mark of how we should be operating to get to here. Even with the label, it was like, well, I know I got to build up a stable of artists. We should already be on a schedule for releases. We should be probably doing this many shows at this time. It doesn't put us at Def Jam level, but we should be by the halfway mark. We should probably be here at this time. And I actually had those marks set. The harder things that I've had to do was saying, well, we did 10 shows this year. Was that a victory? Doesn't feel like it. Well, we hit all our marks and released 2 projects in every quarter like we set out the year before.
Yeah.
Is that something to celebrate? Well, and I'll look at it and, well, we only moved this many units. I don't think this one was mixed as well as this one could have been. And so I pick apart the processes leading up to that. And so those are the steps that I should probably look at, recognize, celebrate, because it is movement forward. It is an accomplishment of some sort.
Yeah.
Even though it's not bad to be critical of the things that you've done, but to still recognize how you have moved the bar forward.
Yeah. So now, listening to everything you just said,
He's about to hit me with something.
does that sound like you are being the CEO of your own company? Better yet, are you being the leader and the head of your company? And I'll take it, since you mentioned you were grateful for your family. That's where everything starts, right?
Right.
So now imagine your household, right? Imagine you're the head of your household. The goal is to get your family to this mark.
Right.
You need your wife to do this. You need both your boys to do this. This is how you need to operate.
Right.
If your wife reaches her goal, like the goals that she needs to reach so the family can get here,
Yep.
and the boys reach that,
Yep.
even though you recognize that maybe some of the things and maybe things could be done better,
Right.
do you focus on all the things they could have done better, or do you let them know, great job, you reached your goals, we're closer to our family goals, now let's sit down, analyze everything, and go through how we can do it even better?
I throttle back when it comes to family.
What does that mean?
That means I'm not putting the same intensity of pressure on them as I'm putting on myself.
Intensity or expectations?
I would say both.
So you're kinder to them.
Yeah, I mean.
So you live more standard based, like here's the goals, we need to reach this standard, right?
Right.
You don't have an expectation, quote unquote, because they're doing it for the first time.
Right.
So you don't know what to expect.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
So setting an expectation seems really silly if you don't.
I can set one, but the way I would react to missing that would be different.
So that to me goes back to the word standard. Like we've known each other long enough. Right. We're a stickler about words, and I'll just pull it up real quick. And this is what blew my mind when it comes to certain words. Expectation, a strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. A belief that someone will or should achieve something.
Right.
Students had high expectations for their future. So it's hard to be detailed with an expectation.
Right.
Because there's so many things that can, at least in my mind,
yep.
a student can expect to be successful.
Right.
Well, then what is that success? What is that success?
Right.
So the standard is, when we set goals and standards, well, I'm going to make all B's. Cool. And they made all B's.
Right.
They've set a standard.
Right. Yep.
Now the expectation is don't go below that B because you've set the standard.
Right.
So I say all that because you said you're nicer to your family. It sounds like you have less expectations until they set it. Now that your boys get certain grades,
right,
you can expect them to get certain grades. And then if they don't reach that expectation, okay, what's going on? Like, why are we not reaching our expectations? Why are we not reaching our standards? Why aren't you doing that with yourself? Why aren't you nicer to yourself? You've reached your goal. You've won a conference championship, quote unquote, whether it was running the label, whether it was mixing, whether it was recording, whether it was this. Now with your media company, you're reaching certain goals. Why aren't you kinder to yourself?
That's a great question. That's $1 million question.
King, no goals, no standards. Exactly, my friend. Exactly. So why do you think that is though?
Wow. So you're asking me, why am I not more lenient or nicer to myself?
I didn't say lenient.
Yeah.
Leniency has nothing to do with this to me.
Okay.
Because in order to reach your standards and conquer your goals, you have to be disciplined.
Right. Absolutely.
You have to be disciplined. You have to show up every day. You have to do the work. It sounds like you have, when you look at future you, you're expecting future you to be here.
Right.
And even when you reach that goal, you're not like, hey, great job. You're like, well, you could have done this and this and this and this and this and this better.
Absolutely.
Okay. But if that was the case, then you would have reached here when your goal was here. So you would have overachieved.
It's one way of looking at it.
What other way? How do you look at it?
Good question.
King, and while you're thinking about
Yeah.
that, King says, is discipline aligned with being mean to thyself? No. Not being mean to yourself, just maybe not giving yourself everything you want.
Right.
Like, I talk about it all the time. I'm a big dude, but I don't stop and eat the pizza puff that I want because I want to be disciplined.
Right.
So, and on and on.
I would say I think timeline is an important part to this. And I would say you said that once you reach this, you don't recognize that you reached this.
Mm-hmm.
But if you would have did this, this, and this, you would have actually been here.
Mm-hmm.
And so from a timing standpoint, I never, in my mind, never seem to reach the place that I'm supposed to reach quickly enough.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're saying this was the overachievement, that may actually be the achievement in the timeline that I've created for myself. And so while I'm picking it apart, maybe due to that, maybe due to what I see in my mind of I should have been here by this time. And since I'm not there, I'm actually running behind. And so when I've actually reached it, if I felt that I wasn't running behind, I possibly could have recognized that I had reached where I wanted to be. But because I reached here, but I said, actually, I should have been here a year ago or 2 years ago. It diminishes the luster of it. And it just feels as if, well, damn, yeah, I got it done. I got there. I'm behind.
So
now I would say that perspective has slowly changed coming into this space as we've talked about getting more into coaching, looking at what timelines really are and how those can change when looking at my boys than before. I mean, through the label, it was all timeline. We were always behind. Every single year, no matter, oh, we did 40 this year. Okay, we're still behind. Oh, man, we're doing this and this. Oh, we're still behind. And that probably hasn't started to slow down until really probably the last year, maybe year and a half. At first, I'm going to say pandemic. Then I was like, nah, because the pandemic slowed me down. I felt like I was really behind. I rushed into this spot, to be honest. Now it's panned off, and and for those people, let me give you context. The previous studio I had was, I think, 762 square feet. It was 2 rooms. I turned both into recording spaces. This space is somewhere around 1,800. Huge hike in the monthly cost. I mean, I could have been there 2 months for what it cost to be here. I didn't have the equipment to fill it when I got here. I would say part of my rationale, and maybe I would have outgrown the other place. Probably would have outgrown the other place because I have been able to fill it. But part of that rationale of coming here was me being behind.
See,
and I think it has worked out. I can recognize a push and an emotion from my inner self but I can also recognize the planning aspect to say, this wasn't something to see like, what can I do in the next year?
Yeah.
This was something to say, if at the current rate, if we continue to expand, am I actually going to expand into this space to actually make all of this extra room of use and be able to monetize it? And on that end, yeah, did my inner ego push me into it? Because it's like, bro, you behind. We just came out of the pandemic and woo, woo, woo. Absolutely. But the logical side did come in and say, well, I think by year 2, probably 2.5, we would have been able to really fit ourselves into this space and be able to take advantage of the things that this space can do and be able to add in more ways to add services and more things to be able to monetize with the space we have.
Yeah.
And that's, we've definitely done that.
See, when I it's so interesting when I hear you say all that, because it instantly takes me back. Now I have different examples, but I know this example you will understand.
Right.
Kobe being Bryant. When he talks about how he got so good at basketball, he stopped worrying about the timeline and focused on doing one thing and making that better.
Right.
Because he knew his end goal. So it was always reaching the end goal. So to become this, it was work on this, then work on this, and work on this, and work on this, and eventually you're going to hit this.
Right. Absolutely.
Where it seems like when you set that goal, you're always worried about you didn't reach that goal soon enough. You didn't reach this fast enough. You didn't reach this. And that'll drive you. And I think we've talked about it, or at least I've talked about it, where if I talk about Star Wars, it's almost like the dark side is propelling you to do better, to drive. You're not doing good enough. You're not doing this, and not, you got to push harder and harder and harder. And the problem is, it sounds like the person that you actually have to be the nicest and kindest to, you're actually the meanest to, which is yourself. Because you already described, okay, if for some reason your wife didn't hit the goals that you have set as a family, if your boys didn't hit, you would sit down and at least have a discussion with them and not rip them apart, not judge them. You would just sit down and logically sift through it. If you're coaching a basketball team, they lost the game, you would logically sift through what can be done to improve things. But you would big them up.
Right. Absolutely.
And then if you win, it's like, great, we won.
Right.
Celebrate that win.
Right.
But now, okay, cool. Celebrate it right now in the moment. The next moment, we got to focus on getting the next win.
Right.
Where you never are, it doesn't sound like you're very kind to yourself or nice to yourself when you achieve something. It's always like, oh man, I should have done this sooner, and oh man, I could do it better, and oh man. But
all that.
I bring this aspect, and maybe not all our listeners are religious. You met it on God's timeline. You reached that point when you were supposed to. You learned something that you didn't know before. Now, if you have to go make an album and you set timelines for said album, and for some reason you just didn't get in the studio and write, you've already had experience with that. You've already done that. There's got to be a reason why you're not reaching that goal. But some of these goals that you're achieving are new, right?
Right.
Never done them before, right?
Right.
Why are you so harsh on yourself?
I don't know, because that exact thing of saying it was supposed to happen when it's supposed to, like, it was God's work. I've used that for other people in the studio. I've definitely used that. Maybe it wasn't supposed to come out then. Maybe we were supposed to be doing this extra recording or add this piece in or whatever. So it was destined to happen. So I have used that line. I have rarely, I could probably count on one hand, use that line for me.
Why?
That's a great question. lot of whys today. A lot of whys. What's your why?
Well, yeah, like for
And that
real.
gets to the core of everything.
Why is it so hard for you to be kind to yourself? Because it's honest. Like I'm not asking.
It is. And I think if my boys were watching or my wife was watching, they would probably be very interested. I think they'd be at the edge of their seat, trying to anticipate this answer of why. Because like we go shopping and stuff, and hey, Dad, why don't you buy something for yourself? Never buy anything for myself. I'll always look at it and say, oh man, it doesn't meet my price point. I always have an excuse, and it's like, oh man, we're out here having a good time. We're celebrating. We got good grades. Go up to the Dells, go to the little stuff. Everybody got bags. I got no bag. And so I don't even know if I can answer that. Answer why. But I do know that it, as you bring that up, it does show itself in other spaces. That one time I went to New York, I bought a steak. I did go to dinner and get that steak though. That was crazy. That was out of pocket. Like normally I don't do that. Yeah, it was really good. Like I was just there for the conference. I don't even know why I did it. I was like, man, I should go get a steak or something. But I normally don't do that.
You know what I've learned?
What?
I've learned for me, it's hard for me to celebrate wins. It's easier now. It was hard for me to celebrate wins. It was harder for me to open up and be happy. It was harder for me to enjoy life because I was always thinking I always had to be prepared for things to go wrong.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely.
And if I'm not prepared for it and I'm not solid for it, I can't protect everyone because it's my job to protect everyone. It's my job to hold everything together. And what I have learned is that I will fight harder and work harder for all those things if I take the time to enjoy them. Because now it's not based in just negative thoughts.
Right.
It's quote unquote balanced. I have positive thoughts as well.
Right.
This is something that kudos to my wife, right? That she was like, come live in my world. Come live in my world. And
that's
like
powerful.
Outside of race, right?
Right.
It's because it didn't matter what her ethnic background is.
It's a whole mentality. It's a whole different space.
She grew up
right
where she didn't have to worry about all these same things that I grew up.
Right.
And it's funny because it's the world that my daughter grew up in, and it's the world my son is growing up in.
Right.
A world that there isn't abuse and trauma and all this stuff. It's a fluffy world. Well, didn't we work hard to create that for our family?
Yeah.
Well,
so you're saying I've created a world that I don't even live in?
That you can't even enjoy. That you're choosing, and that's the funny thing. It sounds like you're choosing not to enjoy it.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely choosing. It's a default program.
Yes. So when do you update the programming to become better? When does your when do you start to upgrade the software? Just like you have on all these machines here, you have to update the software. Right. You have to do better.
Right.
And sometimes you have to get new equipment to do better. So why would your kids strive for success if success looks upset, angry, not wanting to enjoy life?
No, I don't think they wouldn't want to do that.
And it's something, and I only recognize it because obviously I'm still updating my software. I'm updating it.
Like some Matrix stuff, don't y'all think?
And I know for me, I don't know about for you, but I know for me, it comes from deep down rooted insecurities.
Right.
Which you talk to most entrepreneurs, that's what drives them.
Right. Absolutely.
You talk to any of the great athletes, it's something about they know they're great, but it's like something that just gnaws at them. I got to be better. I got to be greater. I got to be
Right.
greater. And it's not greater than anybody else. I just got to work harder to be the greatest I could be.
Right.
But what's the point of it all if we can't enjoy it? What are we working for? So what, we're old and we die and we didn't enjoy any of the fruits of our own labor? We didn't get to celebrate it?
I think it also ties into a vulnerability. It's a world and a space that I can't. It's funny we talk about 10-year, 5-year goals.
Mhm.
It's a world and a space that I can't see. Even as you're talking about it, I can't see myself in that world. I can see myself in where I want to be from a business standpoint. Like I can see the building that I want to be in, or the meetings that I'm at, or the people that I'm meeting. Like I can visualize that. When you put this world out there, that I definitely substantiate that world is there, and that it's highly likely, probably the 90%, that the other folks in my family are living in that world. I can't see myself. I can't see it. It when I can see the world, but I can't see my face in that world.
Now, before I touch on that, Thomas said something. What it has to do with is being divine with yourself so you can be divine with others. And he's right.
Well done.
So
I like that. Appreciate that, Thomas.
As I respond to what you said, how much of that programming is going on? Because if you can't see yourself, what do the people look like that are in that space?
They look happy, bro.
No. But what do they look like?
What do you mean, what do they look like?
What do they look like?
I mean, I can see my family in that space.
Okay, so you can see your wife, you can see your kids.
Yeah.
Who else?
People that seem like they have
Describe
a good time.
them, but describe them. What do they physically look like? Because I know this is what messed me up.
The majority are white.
That's what I thought.
My boys are mixed though, but majority are white.
I'm mixed. And all the people I've seen happy and go lucky, in my mind, even now I still fight it, are suburban white people. Living life, mowing the lawn, going through life like there's nothing that could harm them. Like they're living in a world where they're not going to get robbed. They're not going to get jumped. They're not going to get shot. They're not going to get cut. Just suburban folks, period, living this merry-go-lucky life. And that's not where I came from. So I'm like, you guys have no idea how bad life can be. So you're ill prepared. If the world flipped upside down, you're not prepared. But that doesn't mean that we can't live in that world. To me, it gives us a cheat code.
Right.
Because we know how to maneuver in that world. We know how to, if things went belly up, we know how to survive a little bit more. You know what they call that? PTSD.
So what that makes me think of is I almost made this post, but I didn't make this post. I'm reluctant to make posts lately.
Mm-hmm.
But the obstacles of trauma and how those we allow them to continuously get our way and either deter us or slow us down from getting to where we want to go. In this world you speak of. Why I have to frame it like that even feels weird.
It's weird. Jake, I'm gonna answer that question in a little bit.
This world you speak of, it feels foreign, but I think the most alarming thing that popped up in my head, and I don't know why it is, it feels undeserving. I feel that I don't deserve, or I haven't proven or earned, or whatever it may be, to be in that space.
Yes.
And that has to go back to something. But this goes back to the other point of previous trauma being in the way of us reaching and being our best selves.
Insecurities and fears, man.
But we got to be able to identify it. And then once you identify it, then you have to create a plan to try to maneuver around it.
Exactly. So
you're forcing me to identify right now. He's like, there you go.
Now we're having a good time.
I didn't say all that.
So Jake, okay, so how do you know that you are prepared but could say that we aren't? What qualifies you to say that? Okay, that doesn't mean just because you grew up in a suburb, you wouldn't be able to handle yourself. But just like I would say a Navy SEAL is more prepared than me to be able to handle, let's say all the power went out, right? Power went out, anarchy happened. That Navy SEAL, that Green Beret, that person is going to be a little more, that person is going to be more prepared than me, right? So in situations, if somebody broke into the house, if someone did something, I've been sliced up by a knife, I have been jumped, I have been shot at multiple times, I am a trained fighter, I am certified in self-defense, I have my conceal and carry. I know how to use a firearm. I know how to disable someone who's got a firearm. I am saying that I have prepared myself purposely, and I was forced to prepare as a child to handle a whole bunch of stuff. So if things hit the fan, I'm betting on myself over my next door neighbor who just went to high school, just went to college, works a normal job, right?
Right.
So that's all I'm basically saying. Now, what can you scroll up because now they're really chiming in. So wait a minute. He's assuming that they have no obstacles. No, everybody. No. I don't assume anything. If you're new to this, I am not a person that assumes, right? I am a person that tries to logically play the statistics game. I don't assume that people don't have obstacles. You could have $1 billion and deal with obstacles in your life. Your obstacles are just going to be a little bit different than mine overall. That's okay. You still have obstacles. Some people are mentally strong and can deal with trauma. Not all of us lean on medicine. No, I don't take medicine for it.
I don't take medicine either.
Yeah, so I just spend a lot of time in my gym. I train fighters. I'm a former fighter, so we spend a lot of time. Mike, I mean, we could be full of it. You're right. I disagree. They might have PTSD, so far more prepared just because someone has. Now, see, some soldiers have PTSD. You can get I didn't serve in the military. I suffer from PTSD from being beaten my whole life. And so I grew up in a war zone within my own household. I deal with my own trauma with that. Whenever PTSD can be caused by lots of different things. What I am saying is that, and what we're trying to dive into is that myself, and if you're really listening, and Corey are explaining, right? We are constantly prepared in our brain for the worst scenarios. If we go somewhere, you're always, I could be wrong, are you always on the lookout for someone to do something stupid?
Yeah, you gotta be.
Is your guard always up?
Yeah, you gotta be.
So we look at things differently because of how we grew up. That is our PTSD, right? What I am saying is that there's another group of people, no race, no color, no sex, no nothing. There's another group of people that live in a separate world where they're just having fun, where they show up to a restaurant and they're not thinking about somebody possibly shooting up the restaurant. They're not thinking about, oh, I got to sit with my face facing the door. They can walk on the street and and they're not even paying attention to anybody else. They're in their own world. Now, those people, but that just threw me off right there.
Well,
I've been shot in the head, rebuilt my face, robbed, beat, falsely charged, and lied to about it. That is
I was literally crucified.
Tony, I'm sorry for you, brother, because that sounds rough.
Very
Your
much.
your trauma is like, that's what I mean. There's levels to it, right? His trauma is on a whole different level. I don't even know that world that he lives in is completely different from mine. So to him, my world probably seems like rainbows and sunshines.
Yeah, probably.
So, but my point in all this is that it's not to live in that world full time.
Right.
Do you think you can spend more time visiting it and enjoying the fruits of your labor so you can then work harder to repeat that process? Because it does feel good. Imagine living somewhere. Imagine living in Alaska for 3 to 4 months and not getting sunlight.
Yeah,
and then you just fly to Mexico and you just got this warm sun on you.
Right.
How's that warm sun feel?
Incredible. I mean, I think I've been there. I think I've visited. It's just hard for me to recollect. I mean, it's. I think I've been there. I haven't been there for an extended period of time, but I've been there.
When's the last time you were there?
That's what I was trying to think of.
Man, bro. Man, bro.
It's if I gotta think that hard, it's that bad.
Yeah. You don't go there with your family?
I mean, we be in spaces, so somebody got to be alert. I mean,
yeah, but you're not having fun with them. You're not laughing. You're not enjoying it.
I am fun and laughing in a controlled environment.
Yes, you got to control. You got to control the parameters. But like what I'm saying is
yeah.
you're not,
I mean, we go to the water park and stuff.
You don't have fun?
Yeah, I mean, I have fun.
When I say let the guard down, a public setting is different.
Right. Okay.
Because you also got to make sure that nobody's messing with your family. You got to make sure that that's different. How do you now apply that to the business side?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not sure I've been able to put that piece together. Life is full of mysterious things. Absolutely. I think us as individuals are full of mysterious things.
Yeah.
Some that we're aware of, and then some that we're not. I think that's the important process of being able to know self.
Yep.
And one of the most powerful things that can happen.
Yeah.
Is having a familiarity with yourself.
Yeah. So like Jake says, happiness is a state of mind. If you're always negative, negativity will come back to you. Within reason, yeah, but I think
I want to call it negativity.
Yeah, see, that's what I was just about to say. Yeah.
I mean,
what would you call it?
I'm not like a downer in any of these things. But
explain deeper. Because I know what you mean. I know you're not negative.
It is. Geez, how do I explain it?
The cup is always half empty.
I wouldn't even say that. Like that's the notion that or that people are not positive in these spaces or interactions. Like if I'm going out to the outlets with them, then I'm just pushing out negativity. If I push out negativity, I 110% that to come back to me. And so it's never a matter of pushing out the negativity. It's a matter of really safety and probably being overprotective in a sense to look after or look over those that are most important to me. And so I'm willing to, and I've consistently said that I'm willing to negate some of that joy and
Mhm.
happiness for safety. So it's almost like an exchange.
Yeah.
But I'm not sad. I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I'm not negative. But I've kind of said I just want to be a little bit more on point with what's going on. So I may not be
You're being a
110%
leader.
over the moon.
You're being a leader. That's what I would call a leader. And that sounds normal to me. I'm always, whenever someone asks me how I'm doing, I'm chilling.
My wife has called me out for not being normal.
Yeah,
because there's some things I'm just like, I've created scenarios of things that could have gone wrong in simple scenarios. Even like when I went to New York. Oh, and I told you about the facial thing. Oh man, that was scary.
Wait, does your wife ever say this to you? Why are you always wait, how does my wife say it? Why do you always create problems that aren't there?
But I'm not creating the problem. I am looking at the other possible things
Yep.
that can occur, and I'm being prepared for
I am
that.
solving set problems before they might arise because I want to be prepared for them.
Now, have I taken things a little far from time to time? Okay. I mean, some may say I've taken it a little far for my preparedness.
Yeah.
But hey, it all worked out in the end, though.
Yeah. Like, and I understand what my wife is saying to a certain extent. Sometimes I don't have to focus on that because I know I'll handle whatever comes my way.
I think they're saying we were sometimes over prepared for
Yeah.
some situations.
Yes. And with family, I think it's a little bit different. And I think with out in a public setting, it's a little bit different.
Right.
So to wrangle it back into business and how you conduct business, the best way I could say it is probably this way. Every time we win a fight, every time I do something with my gym and reach a goal, I make sure that I celebrate it for 5 to 10 minutes. That's about
Right.
all my body can process it for.
Right.
And then I'm instantly thinking about the next one.
Right.
I actually said it this morning to one of my fighters. We're moving into this new building.
Right.
I didn't tell him this, but I am nervous because I'm going from 2,100 square feet to 7,300 square feet.
That's oosh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You
And
need to put a basketball court around.
pretty big. And but once it's done, I'm gonna be ecstatic
Oh yeah.
for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna be thinking about the next level, the next compound that I want to do in 10
Oh,
years.
so you on me now? So you just spent 45 minutes on me talking about not
But
celebrating.
I celebrated it for 10 minutes. Do you even do that?
Yeah. You got me on that.
And
I don't have
I
10 minutes to
celebrated for
celebrate
10 minutes.
Is that long enough, folks, for him to celebrate it for 10 minutes? I don't think 10 minutes is long enough. Call up.
Well, that's because I'm focused on filling it. So I got work to do. I can't celebrate. I got work to do. I already won. I won a title. Now I gotta, in order to win another title, I gotta fill it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I'm focused on
because it
filling
could go in the other direction.
Yep,
And that's the scary part about it.
Yep, I gotta fill it. But once I fill it, I better be ready to go for the compound that's gonna cost me $2.3 to $3 million.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, how do you get to the point where you can even celebrate it for 5 minutes? Now I'm saying
No, at least you figured out 10 minutes. I haven't even figured out 60 seconds.
I started loving myself and accepting who I am. For me, I had to, like, it's one thing to think I'm great all the time,
Right.
and think no matter what, I got it. It's another thing to be like, man, I love you, dog. And you're doing good. And then when I mess up, man, that was dumb. You dummy. That was stupid.
Right. So I'm hearing two things: self-love and self-validation.
Yeah, I hold accountability. But
And,
both
but
ways.
and accountability, yes.
No. Accountability, period.
Okay.
Because accountability is neither positive nor negative.
Right.
I'm doing both.
Right.
Because it's easy to be accountable to yourself in the negative.
Right.
Why not in the positive? This is why I talk to myself.
It's unbalanced. Star Wars.
I talk to myself the way I would talk to my kids.
Right.
Now, luckily, I have a different name. You do too. Because when you were a rapper, or when you introduce yourself at a hip hop show,
right?
How do you introduce yourself?
Stash.
If you're meeting in the mayor's office, how do you introduce yourself?
I gotta give him my I already put my government name out there, Corey.
So when I talk to myself, I just ask questions and then I let whoever answer.
Interesting.
Man, why'd you do that, man? Why would you do that? Man, I don't. That's Mark. If I'm hyped answering questions, that's shy. And then sometimes I apologize to myself, man. Mark, my bad. I was reckless, my bad. And sometimes I'm like, you know what, Sha? I should have let that go. Why did I argue with my wife? That's usually what it is. Mark usually argues with. And then I ask for forgiveness and I ask God for forgiveness.
Right.
And I keep it pushing.
Right.
Because I can't change it. It's already done.
Right. Seems like I need some self-reflection and some work on self.
Do you think how would you explain it to your kid? Like if your son,
Right.
Which one do you think is harder on himself?
The youngest. He's closer. He's taking part in my personality.
What would you tell if he came to you? Let's say he won. Let's say because what grade is he? He's in 6th grade, right?
Yep.
They can win, like what, the conference or division, whatever they're in.
They're in YBA stuff, so they have tournaments, so they can win the tournaments.
Okay, let's say how many tournaments does he have?
I think they're supposed to have 10.
Okay, let's say he wins. You guys set a goal.
Yep.
Now it's harder with a team sport.
Yeah.
But let's say you set a goal to win 3 tournaments.
Right.
Let's say he wins 7. But he comes to you.
That boy cooking.
Let's say, and he did well. But when you ask him, like, man, how do you think the season went? Oh man, my jump shot could have been better. I could have crossed them over more. I could have dribbled better. I averaged 2 turnovers a game. I could have done that better.
Right.
I needed 3 more assists. How do you explain that to him? What do you tell him right there as a dad and a coach?
There's always things that you'll be able to do better, but you got to build on the foundation of what you already accomplished. And you met your goals and exceeded your goals. And that's something that should make you feel good and make you feel proud. That wasn't even hard to come up with.
Nope.
Now if you insert me in there, I wouldn't know what to say.
Say the same thing.
It's that damn timeline. Because if I was at that age, I would probably more self-evaluate myself. I just said that was crazy. Because I probably would have wanted to been the reason. And if I wasn't the reason, wasn't enough of a contributor for the reason that we won those 7, I'd probably discount the team wins.
I know how you can go negative, but why didn't you do that with your son? Were you honest?
He ain't got to take on my trauma.
But were you honest when you talked to him?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no hesitation, 110%.
So it's just being honest with yourself.
With myself?
And yes, honest with yourself when it's applied to you now. Because if you said all that,
it's a different metric.
it doesn't have to be, though.
You're right. It doesn't have to be.
And it shouldn't be.
You're probably right on that account too. It probably shouldn't be a different metric.
Because now you're setting a metric that you can never reach.
Right.
Eventually, what's the point of chasing it?
Right. I know I'll never get off this treadmill until I burn out. But I've yet 44 years old and yet have been unable to stop it.
But do you want your son to follow you?
No, absolutely not.
Now, there's nothing wrong with being accountable and recognizing, hey, how can we get better? So look, you did great. Everything you just said.
Right.
How about next week we start doing film study and we see how we can eliminate some of these turnovers.
Oh yeah, we going to the gym.
You have tomorrow to work on it. But in the moment,
that's just not the same metric.
But it is.
Because if we did it this weekend, they had a tournament this weekend. They lost. They had 3 games. They only won 1.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't crash down on them. I said, "Hey, you've only had practice twice before the tournament. They installed a new offense, which is different than some of the stuff you ran. We went to the gym this morning at 6 a.m. and we ran through the basic stuff, and then I set up the offense as it would look and say, hey, here are where the shots are and the offense. We have to be able to master these shots.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was measured. It wasn't pressure. There was a recognition of what went wrong. And then we say, hey, if we continue to work on this, then we'll be real efficient in running this and doing X, Y, and Z. For some reason, I have been unable to apply that way of thinking to my situation. Because of my situation, you already should have been. Why didn't you? Why haven't you? Oh, for real? You're just here. All these other things that I allow to continue to knock me down, but then I try to use for fuel because I'm knocking myself down and then picking myself back up and then knocking myself down, and it's a revolving door. I think as I've gotten older, it's been more exhausting, and it's not sustainable if I want to get to where I want to be probably by the time I'm 50.
Man, I
told my wife I'm going to be dope when I'm 50.
The dark side makes you very powerful, but when you look at everybody that's ever used the dark side full time, do they look younger or older?
Yeah, they look old. They look like they had a whole bunch of experience.
Because it drains you.
Yeah.
So I say all that because you just mentioned it's draining you.
It is draining.
When does Corey become the CEO of Corey?
Interesting timing. You're boom, 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 boom. Thanks, TikTok.
Oh, he thought he got out of that one.
Time up.
But seriously, if you can verbalize it to everybody else, right, have you tried to verbalize it to yourself? Have you tried to say it out loud?
Say the quiet part out loud? Probably not. I don't think that I have.
Or writing it out. Or there's so many different methods to it now. Or you have this beautiful studio recording it.
Playing it back on my phone or something.
And playing it back all the time.
Forcing me to face whatever's happened, and it forces me to be honest with myself.
Based on the only person that really can reach you.
Yeah, facts.
Because I could say it, and it'll hit you.
It'll hit me.
But you'll hear it, but you won't feel it.
Right.
And it's not until you start looking at yourself like that.
Right.
And it's almost like what hit me is how do I want my son to be?
Right.
Because I could see my daughter stresses about things. and she's always calculating.
Mm.
It's like, ugh, kid, you don't got to do all that.
It's too much.
With my son, I want to make sure he doesn't do that to a certain extent.
Right. Right.
And for you, you have 2 kids.
Right.
If you're and the funny thing is, if you're kinder to yourself, it doesn't mean take the foot off the pedal. It actually, to me, it allows me to step harder on the pedal. And it allows me to see the whole vision. It allows me to have more patience. For me, anyway.
Right.
Because now I know if I need to work a week straight because things aren't going well, I could do it.
Right.
But it also allows me to be patient to see all the different outcomes.
Right.
And while everybody else is freaking out, I get to be calmer.
Right.
Because I'm not caught up in the moment so much. There's less self-doubt. There's less insecurities. There's less, I just love myself more.
Right.
Even coaching, I don't get so ramped up.
Right.
I'm chilling.
Right.
Whatever the outcome is going to be, that doesn't mean I'm a bad coach. And I used to live and die on that.
Right.
If my family isn't doing well, I used to live and die on that.
Right.
If the gym isn't doing well, I used to live and die on that.
Right. I'm still living and dying on that.
So how can you even see beyond?
Right.
Because everything is in survival mode.
Right. Absolutely.
Then the question is, what are you going to do so you can control you?
Always comes back around to that.
Always, man. Always. It's always on you. Nobody else can fix this.
Absolutely. And I wouldn't want anybody else to. They wouldn't be able to. So it does come down to me. So I have to consciously make a decision of how I want to move forward, where I want to be, and how I'm going to get there, how I can best get there.
What are you most worried about stepping into doing it differently?
Control.
Elaborate, please.
I feel that the way I've done it, even though not the most efficient, is a comfortable and which is that's a bad word.
Oh, I don't know. I like that. I like that. I love that.
Can I retract that?
No, you
Let's
cannot.
go ahead and take that back. Did I say comfortable?
Yeah,
What I
because
meant
that's
to say,
exactly what it is.
it's comfortable and familiar. And I feel that I have control because of the comfort and familiarity of how things will move forward. When you say to change that is to put me into a space that is uncomfortable, even though I've been in uncomfortable spaces and been able to navigate them, but this is uncomfortable. I am not sure in which the direction will go. And so I have to acquiesce kind of to this situation in which I feel I do not have control. And so there is fear that comes along with putting myself in a situation when my 44 years of being on this earth is to be prepared and to have some form. I feel that preparedness gives me some form of control. Even though I don't always know what the outcome is, I always feel that I can influence the outcome in my favor. Now you're asking me to go against the entire 44 years of my creation to be into a space in which I would, one, feel unprepared, and two, feel I have little control over where that situation will put me. Whether true or not, that is the perception of being in that space.
Interesting.
That was a hell of a litigation. It didn't help me though.
You broke that down pretty well. You sounded highly intelligent. So I guess the last question I got for you is, are you going to take that ride? Are you going to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation business-wise by looking at both sides and saying, yes, I'm doing really good. I'm successful. I'm winning titles.
That means okay. So okay, we're gonna
Look,
get
boy,
real
look
here.
at you.
Oh, we gonna get
Look
real
at-
here.
yeah,
Oh, you
look
want to
at
get
you.
real?
Woo!
Let's really get real here. Okay. So here's what it comes down to, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at it from one way, and I'm assessing: can I afford financially, dollar wise, to be able to make that move? And if that move goes awry, goes wrong, what is the impact? What I can't face, and I'll tell you honestly, what I can't face is to make that move and be and facing failure and having this whole thing fold up.
That makes sense. That's a valid fear.
And so it's a risk of, I mean, it's the risk of going over here and saying, who knows, it could shoot to the moon. And I could be in 2-3 years farther than I thought I would have been going on the same path, or it could come over here and it could fold. And right now, from a personal standpoint, emotional standpoint, I don't know. I do not feel that I could face that, even though I probably could. I probably could meet that, have this whole thing fall on its face, and be able to come up out of that. For whatever reason, I feel like that would validate things that I've been fighting for since I left school. It validates what people have said, not said. I've drawn inference from to say that, bro, you ain't who you think you are. And for me to step over here, face that, and to have it not go the way, I think would be, could I recover? Absolutely, but I think it would be devastating. And I think if I had to take a step back to go a step forward, that completely destroys the timeline. And then I don't know what that means for my confidence and how I would want to move forward. I think that would shake me into all the spaces that I'm in with all the different things that I do, and not just this business. Coach, mentor, whatever it is.
It all makes sense. Those are some valid fears right there, man. That's valid.
You're gonna say something, bro.
There's
There's something about to come up, and I'm like, man, I want you to say it. I know you want to say it, but you got to say it. So go ahead and say it, because people got to know. You got to put it in its place.
No,
put it in its place.
The fears are valid. It makes sense why you're thinking all that, why you're feeling all that.
Right.
That's coming from a real spot. Those are real fears.
Right. But
it's not a but. The question is, what's going to make you rise further? Staying in comfort where there's less fears?
Never.
Or having all those fears? The fears that it could fail. And I have a weird understanding with that word.
Yeah, I get it.
But not succeeding in the way you want to succeed.
Correct.
That it could break your heart. Like, there's no other way to put it. It could break your heart.
Right.
Because if you didn't reach that mountaintop that you climbed, and it set you back down a couple mountains, that's a heartbreaking situation. That's like getting to the finals, game 7, and you miss the game-winning shot.
Right.
That hurts.
Right.
You lost the championship. The ball was in your hand. You lost. That hurts.
It's that damn timeline I hold on to. I don't know why I hold on to this timeline so tight.
Because you're worried about death. You're worried about you're not going to be here. Have you done enough for your kids? Have you done enough for your wife? Have you built enough? Have you done enough?
Right.
I think all
I haven't done enough.
You haven't got your sons to a point where they understand and can function in life to a certain degree right now already, nothing else can really change. The only thing you could change for them right now is financially and just being the rock. But all the lessons you have given your kids and your family are there.
Yeah.
They're already there. They're already in place.
Yeah, and those are already embedded.
Yes. So you just being there.
Finances goes a long way.
Yeah, it does. But
in determining outcomes.
If your son, one of your sons, were sitting right here and they said, I don't want to don't put the ball in my hand to win the game because I'm afraid I'm gonna fail. I'm afraid I'm gonna do this. I'm afraid I'm gonna do this. I'm afraid it's not gonna go my way. I don't want that shot because I don't know if I can handle that.
Right.
What are you telling them?
I mean, you gotta take that, even if you miss. I don't care if you airball. You'll be better for it.
Is your business? Are you the type of person to fail?
I have failed.
When you fail, it's only a failure if you quit it, if you stop it.
Yeah, in that essence, no.
So have you failed?
No.
Have you won everything?
No.
Have you suffered some losses?
Yeah.
Did you have to recover from those losses?
Yeah, I took some else.
Okay. But you haven't failed because you wake up the next day.
Right.
What me saying, take the time, take 5 minutes. I said 5 minutes a day to celebrate your victories. Are you telling me 5 minutes in your day is going to ruin your business to the point where you can't succeed?
No.
It's just 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes to recognize your wins.
Right.
To recognize where you're at and what you're fighting for.
Right.
Since only certain people in music will understand this.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that first studio you had? I wasn't there, but everybody's first studio is pretty much the same. You remember the equipment you had?
Oh yeah, I remember.
You remember what it sounded like?
The equipment, the booth. I remember everything. I remember using a hanger to hang up the mic. Yeah, I remember all that. That was interesting. At first, I had to sit down to rap. That was crazy.
With that, how hype would that Corey? How hype would that Dash Dub be looking at this place?
I couldn't even see it. That guy,
but
that guy couldn't even see this.
But imagine that guy walking in here.
Yeah, he'd be geeked. He'd be super impressed.
So be geeked. Being geeked doesn't take you from winning. Being geeked is like, yeah, I did it. What's the next goal?
Right.
What's the next goal? I'm hyped. Look at this place. I remember when I had to use a hanger. I remember when I had to record sitting down.
I remember when I had to play music out of a boombox that had 2 tape decks. Man, let's listen back to it on the stereo. I don't think this is really what they do in real studios. Yeah.
That's celebrating wins. That's loving yourself.
Yeah.
That's being real.
Yeah, it's being real.
And it doesn't even have to be an everyday thing.
Right.
Or the alternative, and it's not bad, it's an alternative. It's the other way. I'm not gonna celebrate my victories because I'm afraid it's gonna mess up my business model. I'm not gonna be hyped about my wins because I may not succeed. I want to stay in my comfort.
Right.
I want to stay where I know what's going to happen and be comfortable in my business.
Right.
I just want to be comfortable in business.
I don't want to just be comfortable in business. Because being comfortable in business, I'll never reach where I really want to go. And so I'm between a rock and a hard place.
Really? Where do you want to go?
To reach the place that I want to go, I think that the only way to get there is to go into the other space. But to go into the other space, like I said before, means that I can lose it all and then have to restart.
What is going into other space?
Because going in the space that
Involved.
I'm in is only going to be incremental improvements over time.
Isn't that how you get better at basketball?
Incremental improvements.
Mm-hmm.
It is. But I may never get there if I'm drained in the space that I'm in. If I get drained out before I'm able to get to where I'm trying to go. Okay, so you're saying I'm in this dark space. This dark space, I'm still moving forward. But I'm moving forward like this. But I may burn out in this space before I actually get to get there. I could jump over into this space, and I could fall off the map.
Yeah, you will.
But at the same time, I could move forward by some leaps and bounds.
It'll still be little.
It'll still be little.
Here's the key. What if you merged them?
And what type of matrix is it? Something you can merge?
Who said you had to be one or the other? Yeah. Who said you had to be? It'd still be you.
Right.
Still be you.
I don't know what it takes to be. There's a lot to figure out. I'm not sure what.
Hey,
it
coach,
is to be
I don't
in
know how
this
to dribble
space.
with my left hand. I only know how to dribble with my right.
Yeah, we worked on that today.
Why do you need to know how to dribble with your left?
Man, you gotta have the skill to be able to get around somebody with both left and right. If they just hunker down on one, then you're gonna be stuck and trapped. See what you're saying? I still don't. I don't know what this other side does.
Doesn't that sound like? How did you know? Were you excited when you got this space?
Yeah, I was geeked.
You didn't know what it was going to turn out to. It could have failed.
Yeah, it could have, but I mean,
it could have folded. It could have folded within the first 6 months.
it could have, but I had enough
Okay,
prior information and things like that. Yeah, I mean, after the year, yeah, it probably definitely could have.
What kept it? What kept it going?
Me just just pushing through. There was a lot of things that didn't go right, didn't go wrong, and had to reinvent some things and try some new things and bring some people in and lost some people and just had to keep dragging it through.
That's all it is.
This other side?
It's not go live there the rest of your life. Right? It's not that. I don't think you ever. I can't. Right. If you can find a way to stay over there your whole life, please let me know. I'll learn.
Right.
But already, I'm getting a space 3 times the size that I already have, and I'm in the back of my mind. I'm like, I gotta fill it so I can go get a couple acres.
Right.
My wife gets mad at me all the time. I'm never gonna be satisfied. Right. I'm always gonna have goals. There's always another championship to go win.
Right.
The difference is I'm trying to celebrate my championships, the fruits of my labor.
And you feel like that's enough to get to at least get me to engage the other side.
To be honest, the other side isn't really the other side. It's just appreciating what you have and loving yourself and loving the fact that you put in the work. That's all it is.
That's clarity.
It's appreciating what you've already done and what you've accomplished and recognizing that the other version of yourself that started this mission would be envious of you, would love to switch roles with you, would love to live that. And then you realize, wait a minute, that's who I still am.
Right.
Wait a minute, I could look at my life with those lens.
Right.
When they say look at life with a childlike eyes, that's essentially what they mean.
Right.
The child version of you gets to live out their life. So yeah, if the childlike version of you's like, I want to fly in a jet. Well, yeah, if you don't have the funds to go do a jet, right, and to go fly in the jet, yeah, you can't pull that off, right? But maybe one day you can. And then if you have the means, why not do it?
Right.
Because the kid in you wants to do it. The kid in you has these goals. The college kid in you, maybe the high school kid in you wanted to run a studio.
Right.
Why don't you look at the studio with those eyes? and be like, man, but you're more responsible. You understand responsibility,
Right.
unlike the high school and college version of you.
Right.
You can stay grounded in it.
Right.
It's still you.
Right.
So that other side is just recognizing that the world isn't always against you. Honestly, the world is never against you.
Right.
Because in the matter, and when you break down the universe, we really don't matter.
Right.
We are a little grain of salt.
Right.
That's our ego that think we matter. The other world is just recognizing, oh, we can have fun. We can enjoy the fruits of our labor.
Right.
I'm not saying go buck wild. I'm not saying that. I'm saying enjoy it.
So to bring this full circle, you need to be a little nicer, a little kinder
To yourself.
to myself.
Love yourself.
Love yourself.
Be honest about your mistakes, but love yourself. Be honest about how well you're doing too.
And so it almost feels like balancing the inputs.
Yep.
I'm going to bring all this critical analyzation, all that other stuff. I'm going to be able to balance that with something that's loving, supporting.
Yeah. Yep. And the only way I know how to do it for myself is
Only
I
if the
separate.
world lived like that.
Why do you think I look at people? I literally look at people crazy because they live on the extremes.
Only if the world was like that. Interesting.
I still live on the extremes somewhat.
Right.
I'm just learning how to find how to love myself to the extreme as well.
Right.
I am who I am.
But that's balance.
Yes. My balance doesn't have to look like everybody else's balance.
Right.
If somebody wants to live, if someone isn't as extreme and they live more in the gray area,
Yeah.
well, great, live in the gray area.
Right.
That's not me every day.
Balance.
But you dictate what your balance is. And the way you would speak to yourself, to learn it, you just speak to yourself like, look in a mirror and speak to yourself like you were talking to your own child. It'll feel so weird. Like it's what I have fighters do. I have fighters just talk to themselves in the mirror because their mental hurdle is getting in the way of the physical. We can do all the work and they still don't believe in themselves.
Right.
Because something in their head is saying, if I believe in myself, then I'm wrong. I have to be humble. I have to think of myself of having low importance, which is the definition of humble. That's why I love prime time.
Right. I love prime.
That's what it really
Some
boils
days
down
I'll be
to.
wishing I could be prime.
You can be,
Yeah.
but you'll be your version of
of
that.
it.
Who said you don't think you're great?
All right. Good.
Okay. So high school version of you wouldn't think you're great right now?
Oh yeah, you'd be through the roof.
So you're great. Where do you want to be in 10 years?
Beyond this.
And when you look back 10 years from now, this version I'm speaking to right now would probably think that person's great.
I get that building.
You see what I'm saying?
Next level.
You see what I'm saying here? Be in the moment, not always in the past, not always in the future. Be in the damn moment. Recognize where you came from and live in the moment. Man, I'm doing great.
Days of future past.
Tomorrow I'm gonna be greater.
Right.
Man, I didn't reach my goals. Man, why didn't I reach my goals? I set the deadline. I didn't reach my goals. Okay. And then you can analytically tear that apart.
I can definitely
But
do
if you
that.
did do that, man, I'm hyped. Man, I reached my goals. Man, I did it. Okay, cool. Enjoy it. Have a cigar. Have a drink. Eat a steak.
You know what? I've been had them cigars for like 3 years.
What were you supposed to
I'd
lie
be
them
going
for?
overseas just to celebrate life. And I said, "Oh man, I'm gonna get these cigars or whatever." Man, I've taken 2 trips to Mexico and bought cigars, haven't opened up either package.
Bro, that's waste.
I got one in there, and then I got one in the car because I was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna share these or whatever," and then
That's waste.
I never did.
Bro,
That's sad.
the celebration can be easy too.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to. I'm not saying pop bottles and like.
Yeah,
For me, I like sitting in front of a fire and having a whiskey and be like, and kick my feet up and be like, man, hell yeah.
that's a feeling.
Hell yeah. Because what is the point of working hard and not enjoying it?
Right.
I didn't say go nuts.
Right.
When you were in college, could you take your wife to a nice restaurant and really afford it?
Nah, you should have seen how I set up one time. It was sad, bro. Put a towel on a cardboard box, bro.
Hey, that sounds cute. I bet she loved it. That sounds
Actually,
cute.
she did. Though.
Yeah, she liked the effort.
Wild.
So
I think I undercooked the Cornish hen.
That's funny.
There.
That's funny. That's hella funny. But now you can take her out, right?
Yeah.
Do you take her out once in a while?
Yeah.
Do you have a good time?
Yeah, we just went out. Last weekend?
You smile, you have fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Did you ever think by yourself like, man, I don't believe I could do that. I don't believe I can afford that now. I don't believe, man, that's dope.
Right.
You ever do that?
Nah.
Bro, that's so fun. It's so fun. It's so much fun.
No,
It's so much fun. It's just a quick second. It's like, man, I couldn't have done that in college, man. We were eating off cardboard boxes.
Tommy Hilfiger towel. It was a nice towel.
But you see what I'm saying. I took my wife to Sambo.
Yeah.
And the food is dope, but it was something about being in a place, and it was our first year anniversary, wedding anniversary. And before that, we were just going to Red every year for our anniversary.
Yeah.
But now we change it up because, man, I don't know. Like, it was weird to have someone actually come up, slice meat. And, well, I'm like, is this what it's like to just have a built-in chef? I just get someone that just comes up and feeds me? I'm like,
one of these.
Is this? I'm like, I looked at my wife, I'm like, we got to get to this level.
Right.
But enjoying it allowed me to, and I like it, allows me to want it.
Right.
Am I going to work less or am I going to work less? Or am I going to work more for that?
Positive motivation.
And I damn sure couldn't have taken it to that when I was in high school or college. I mean, I could have maybe, but I would have paid in cash.
It would have set you back.
And it would have been like in a rubber band. And you know what? You know what hit me that night more than anything else? Is that the bartender knew me from a show we did in Milwaukee at the Rave that I booked. When I booked
that's crazy.
Currency.
Okay.
Brought Currency out to the Rave.
Right.
And then he also knows me from UCAN stuff and Madison stuff.
Okay.
Gave me a free drink and gave me a free shot. I didn't even ask for it. Which made me think like all that hard work, that's dope.
Right.
Someone recognized.
Right. Not a recognition of that.
It made me feel really good because this guy's hyping me up in front of my wife. And I didn't ask him to.
Right.
Just a little bit. It's really just a little bit. It's not even that big. You just got to do it. It's so little, but you got to do it all the time.
Right. I have to build the consistency in for him.
Chill.
Okay.
Look at him.
I can do that.
He's thinking. What's
Well,
the
I'm
word?
already trying to put it in the schedule.
What's the word that you like to use? Processing.
Yeah. I'm definitely doing that.
Processing. So hopefully y'all learned something. Mainly about just what it really boils down to is loving yourself and understanding who you are and being honest with yourself. On both sides of the plane. Like, hey, I could do better. Man, I did great. I pulled this off great. And then how can I do better next time?
Right.
And so it's just being honest with yourself. Thank Corey, of course, for jumping from behind the scenes, coming out here. Where can they find you on social media?
DASHDUB -dub. I'm on IG, Facebook. It's the main place you can hit me.
And what about your company?
Media 22, I think Media 22 LLC on IG, on YouTube, on Facebook. And we're Media 22 Radio 22 on TikTok, but we're going to be changing that.
Okay. So y'all heard it. Have a great day. Love y'all. Thank you for supporting. Peace. We out. Boom.
We're still on
Facebook
still and
on
YouTube.
Facebook and YouTube. I know. Don't say nothing crazy. Don't talk about the bad biddies. Don't talk about shaking it.
Talking about my back hurting. Yes, it is.